Everyone, I'm Justin. I'm with Name Travel Group. And as you guys saw from the email and invitation, we're starting to get a lot of questions from clients of ours and people that have traveled in the past or people looking to travel that have real estate questions. So today I'm here with David Karr, who's based out of Jaco with CP Properties and kind of a go-to guy that I always reach out to. Sold me my home personally and sold some clients of mine's homes, and got a bunch of questions and just want to talk real estate.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited. Yeah, hopefully you guys have questions. Right now, a lot of people really are interested in living down here, investing down here, buying property down here. So I think it's a good time to help people with their questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always kind of funny when there's a change in an election. You start seeing, in stock market's at all-time high, but there's uncertainty. So I guess it's a good time to be in the real estate business.
Yeah. I've been here long enough through different elections, and yeah, you're right. That always spurs a little bit of movement for sure.
Fantastic. Well, I figured, why don't we just get started? We've got about 40 people that signed up, so hopefully they'll start logging in here shortly. But we've got a long litany list of questions and just want to kind of go down it and
Sure.
Some great advice I'm sure you're going to be able to give some of these people. So let's starting. Richard Bexon, who's also down here, good friends of ours, He asked a question that we get a lot. And what's the most overlooked part of the purchase process that a buyer should be aware
of? I'd say there's a couple, right? I think when people are initially thinking about real estate here, the first one that they're just not, a lot of people aren't aware of, is that financing isn't readily available.
Yeah.
So for foreigners, it's just very hard to come by. It's basically going to be private financing that just typically doesn't make much sense. So I think that's the first one that people overlook. And I think after that, I think just some of the paperwork involved, right? Some of the legwork. It's, I think sometimes when people think of Costa Rica, they get excited, they get enamored with the idea of it. But it's still a transaction. It's still paperwork. You still have to sign things and scan documents. And so you do need to put a little bit of effort into it for sure.
Yeah. Well, whenever I was buying my home, I obviously bought it from you. And, I owned real estate in the States and then came down here and shopped. And it's a bit intimidating. And for me as a buyer, but also somebody who gets these questions, I also say is find a reputable realtor and find a great attorney. There's a lot of questions, the language barrier at times can be there. And just, somebody that you can trust, which, there's a lot of great realtors out there, but that's also, to help navigate those waters is a big thing.
For sure. And I would go one step further and, help people be aware that take your time in finding that person, right? Don't just go online, see a property you like, inquire, and then start working with that person. Like find the person that's going to help you, guide you with that process. And the realtor is key because the attorney, like you said, they can help you with the accountant, the handyman, the inspection, the designer, the whatever. There's so many different things that a good realtor can help with. And take your time in getting to know, that person, research, and find the person that's the best fit for you for sure.
Absolutely. No, great advice. And also don't rush.
Don't take your time. I had just last week had a client. He's doing everything exactly like what I pretty much tell people to do. And he's coming down here, right? He's trying to take advantage of some of these opportunities coming down in a couple weeks. And before he's coming down here, he said, "Hey, do you think I could talk to a couple clients of yours?"
Oh, of yours?
Or just a couple clients that own property, their experience. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. That's exactly the type of diligence that people should be doing. Talk to a past client. Hey, what was your experience like? How do you like owning property? How are things going for you? Right? Those are the people that are going to give the answer that are, totally different than what.
Yeah, there's no real TripAdvisor for realtors in Costa Rica.
No.
I guess in the States you've got Zillow and things like that. Here, definitely, that's a
So don't be shy in asking that, and a good realtor will have no problem doing that. So yeah, that's a good tip.
Fantastic. Well, looking here, there's a lot of good questions on here. We've got J. Dot who is asking, this is something that's common in the States.
Mhm.
And so he goes, how have the property values increased over the past 5 years compared to property values in the United States? For example, the city like Chicago, Denver, Philadelphia, and Boston. So how properties increased here over the past 5 years?
Well, for the most part, we have not compared we haven't seen the increases that most of the U.S. has gone up. A big difference with us is that the fact that we're a cash market kind of keeps things in check, right? What's going on in the U.S. is because there's so much cheap money, especially right now, people are just raising prices, and prices are going up because if you're going to look at a property of $500,000, you might bid $550 to make sure you get it in a hot market, because $50,000 more on a mortgage doesn't really matter. But on a cash deal, right, that does matter. So we don't see that those swings as much. There are some markets that I would say, parts of the country have gone up quite a bit. But for the most part, we have not seen nearly the growth that we've seen in the U.S.
Well, and that brings up a good point. I know there's quite a few questions on here about financing.
Mm-hmm.
And so Costa Rica is a cash market. I mean, is there a way for an American or any foreigner to get a loan in Costa Rica?
It's hard. I mean, it's definitely available, but it's going to be typically private financing or through a seller. That's very common, where a seller will usually float some sort of terms for a few years, but those rates are going to be high. Where traditionally it might make sense for someone is more of like a bridge loan, where, hey, I've got some money coming in next year or in 2 years, and
or home equity line waiting,
or
for
a
that
home
to
equity
be
line,
processed.
or there are people that buy with their IRA. You can still do that.
Okay.
So that's an option as well. But that traditional 30-year mortgage, it's not really an option.
Yeah, and I know from personal experience, before I bought, we did a cash deal, but financing here, the interest rates are very high.
They're
I mean,
high
right now.
Yeah.
I believe it's around 8% in
Yeah.
US dollars.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely a cash market, even at those interest rates.
Yeah, and even the points to do the loan, right? So even if us locals that get that do have that access to financing, it's about 8 to 9%, and it's going to be pretty expensive on the points to origination fees and reporting costs and things like that.
Absolutely. Another good question on here is, and this is actually great for you because I know you do some of this yourself, is what advice do you have for people who want to get into Airbnb business in Costa Rica?
Great question, and very it's very common. A lot of people are wanting to do that, have interest in doing that. It depends on the person, right? I think people have to understand that it's not as easy as just, put it on VRBO and make a bunch of money, right? I do like it, and I do recommend it for the right fit. For people that have the time, that have the experience. You might have some people that already own a property in Chicago, and they have familiarity with doing bookings and reservations on Airbnb and those sites. It's not that different, right? Versus, say, maybe the busy business owner might find that, for the time and amount of energy to learn it, to manage it, to answer inquiries, it might make more sense to just have an agency or staff do that for me.
Absolutely.
So it's just really a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and there's some, in our business, we get the Airbnb question a lot. And I can only imagine as an owner doing the Airbnb, there's also some obstacles you don't have to deal with when you're when you have a rental property in the States, meaning they first have to get here. Mm-hmm. Flight delays and things like that. That does happen in the States, mm-hmm. But it does seem to be a trend here with a lot of people mm-hmm. purchasing properties, second homes, or what have you, and wanting to be able to rent them out.
And it depends on the goals, right? There's some people where they'll throw it up there, and if they just have a few rentals, they're fine with that. And then there's some people that want to maximize it, right? So depending on what your goals are, and again, depending on how much time and effort, your experience, it's really a small business. Right? I mean, you're really starting a little business, and hey, this is my property. I'm going to create a vacation rental, and it's a business. You're getting reviews. You're growing that. So there's a lot more that is entailed with it.
Absolutely. So going on, there's a bunch of different questions in here. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. There's a question here saying, what is the fastest and easiest process when inquiring a loan for an international property? Once again, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So it can be done, but as David mentioned, the interest rates are going to be high. The obstacles you're going to have to jump through will be tough. So more of definitely a cash buyer's market for sure.
Yeah. And I'll add, just so people have an idea of maybe a seller financing, right?
Yeah.
They found something,
those.
they'll see advertised seller financing. Just to give an idea, it's all negotiable, but typically they're going to want about 50% down.
Yeah.
They're going to want between 7 to 9%, best case, on interest. And they're typically going to want a balloon payment where they'll carry up to 5 years. So that's kind of a rough idea of what to expect if you are willing to do those numbers.
That is a good point. There are some owner financing options available, and primarily because it is difficult to get financing here. So that is an option to consider. Parents with young children. This is from John Robb. Would you advise, is the most likely scenario homeschooling, American English speaking only? Are there schools here?
Again, kind of depending on the area. Here in Jaco, we do have both options. We've got some English, some
we got a great one right here.
Yeah, right in your backyard, literally. So yeah, it just kind of depends on what part of the country you're looking in. There's definitely, for the most part, you're going to have options on both. You know, in this day and age, and with COVID changing, I would think homeschooling is becoming more of an option for people.
It's kind of almost a norm these days.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe 5 years ago, probably wouldn't say that was as much of an option, but I would say if that can work for you and your family or for the right kid, and it's something to look into.
For moving down with kids, I have a newborn, so I obviously can choose to live in the States or live here. And it is kind of a lifestyle change, but I personally don't see any major obstacles to raising kids here, you know, with the education side of things, with homeschooling, but also in key areas, there are some really good private school options.
Yeah. In the coastal areas, I would say that the one hard spot is going to be once you get higher in the schooling and you start getting, those high level math and sciences.
Correct.
In the beach communities, then it gets a little bit more difficult and limited. But definitely for the lower ages, you typically are going to be in good shape.
Perfect. So going on to the next one, we've got Mackie Lucero. This is going to be a general question, so I know you're going to have some general answers. Is what's the average cost for property?
Yeah.
There's going to be some silos. It depends on where you're at.
Yeah. I would say that most of, again, in the coastal areas and the beach properties, I would say that for the most part, you're going to be starting in that 200 and up range. Under 200,000, I think throughout the country is pretty limited. So, I would say probably 200,000 to 300,000 is going to give you a decent sized net. That's probably going to find what you're looking for and give you plenty of options. Under 200 throughout the country, it's going to start to get pretty limited and pretty tough.
Correct. Yeah. And that's, that question also, it depends on where you want to be. Like the coastal areas are going to be a bit higher. You can go inland in some different areas. And it also, from my experience being down here now 11 years, it also depends on the type of amenities and creature comforts you want in the home. An American style property and a development that gives you a sense of more security is going to be higher in price. But if you want a little casita and a finca in Grecia, it's going to be a completely different price.
Yeah, I think the one expectation for people to have is, and we get this a lot because Costa Rica, they want the view, right? A beautiful ocean view. Ocean view in this country is expensive. So people have to understand that you're going to pay up into the 4s, 5s, 6s and up if you really want to get that water view.
It's also relative. The team I fish with, the owner just bought a condo in Jupiter for an obscene amount of money, multi-million dollars, and comes down here into Los Sueños and looks at one of the new ocean views in Montecielo and thought it was an absolute rock bottom price. Couldn't believe it. And so it is dependent too, relative. Ocean view for 400,000. I'm from
I think
Florida.
it's a great
I don't
deal.
really know where you're going
Exactly.
to get that. You know,
Yeah.
if you're in
Oh.
California or Florida or in those coastal communities. So
Oh.
it's relative to the areas that you're coming from.
For sure, for sure. So I don't know why we get so many people that think they can get an ocean view for 200,000. I mean, I just had one a couple of days ago. It's like, I want a great view. My budget's up 200. It's like, yeah, that's
Well,
just,
it's that Mountain View lot way out there, 45 minutes from the beach. It does exist, but do you want to be able to walk out of your balcony and touch the sand is a different expectation.
Yeah.
You know, view versus beachfront and access also is a big part
for
of it.
sure.
So great question there. This one here, do different parts of Costa Rica have different degrees of humidity? I kind of know that one, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, I would say anywhere that it's hot, right? There's going to be humidity anywhere there's heat here.
Yeah.
You know, I think probably the humidity really isn't that different in the cooler areas. You probably just don't feel it as much.
well, even
Probably
here,
that.
I mean, it's probably 90 degrees out right now.
Mhm.
And the great thing along the coast here in Costa Rica, and for the most part, is there's always a nice sea breeze.
Mhm.
And
There's a
so,
great
you know,
breeze here,
humidity, you do get some stifling days, but I'm originally from Florida. And so when it's hot and humid there, it's suffocating. I've never really experienced that here.
Yep.
But it is, we're 9 degrees off the equator.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is if the heat is an issue, probably the beach is just not going to probably work for you, right? I
Yeah.
mean, all the beach areas, the coastal areas, it's warm. It's going to be in that, whether it's humidity, a lot of it or not, it's going to feel like it's 90 pretty much all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question here from Jody Anderson, which we've kind of gone over, is the best way to purchase property for Americans?
Yeah, I mean, do your homework. Find people that are reputable. You know, spend your time and energy finding the person that's going to help you, and really rely on them. Right, fact check them, and then go through the process. Do your homework. Be diligent of taking your time, finding that right person. And I think a mistake too that people make is finding the area first.
Yeah.
Too many people just go online shopping. I mean, if you're going to go move to California, you've never been there, right? Well, you're going to go to San Diego, or you're going to go to San Francisco. I mean, they're totally different areas.
Well, you first have to, in my line of work with the tourism, and we get a lot of the questions, it's like, first come and tour the country.
Absolutely.
You know, I have met some people that buy sight unseen, and they get here, and, you know, it's, you know, you don't test drive a car, or you don't buy a car without test driving. You know, so come
100%.
down, visit the country, visit the destination, because Jaco, where I'm at, might be a great area for me, but others want more remote, more
100%.
off the beaten path,
Yep.
and less people around. And
Yep.
so that is and we're starting to see that now because of the long stays, you
Yep.
know, and it's a good way to test drive
Yep.
whether you want to actually have a second home or move here full time. Is come down and stay for a month or two. You know,
Mhm.
learn what it's like to get around on your own, whether you want to drive or you want to rent a car or the public transportation.
Yep.
There's, you know, as Americanized as we like to think that we are, developed as we are, it's still very different when it comes time to the
100%.
infrastructure of where you pick and where you live.
Yeah. Just make it a vacation. And if anything,
Exactly.
if you got to come back here a second time, what a great excuse. Oh,
I got to go back.
honey, we need to go back down a second time. Now that we went one time, now we go another time to go look at the property. So treat it as a vacation, enjoy, you know, get a feel for it. Don't focus so much on, if you've never been here and you're looking for real estate, you're on the wrong track.
Yeah.
Right? Get down here first, enjoy it, see how much you like it first, check out a few different areas, then go from there. Oh, you know what? I could see myself living here.
Yeah.
And then kind of go that route.
Yeah, and I think that's what, you know, when you travel, you end up finding a new destination that you love, and then, you know, it's a matter of, I could actually see myself staying here. So explore it, test drive it first. Don't jump into
Yep.
it, and take the time for sure.
Yeah.
Question here from Kenneth Winter. Now, this is going to be more, so most likely not looking to invest because of his age, more so looking for visiting multiple times, which for a trip like that, you know, long stays, it is becoming more popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in key areas, there's you manage some properties, and so what are long stay rates look like? And let's say long stays are a month or more.
They're all over the board, right? I mean, they're just really going to vary the time of year, exactly how long. Someone looking to come during the peak of the season during January and February is going to look at a different rate if they're coming down during September and October. And really, it's all negotiable depending on who you're dealing with and what's going on. If there's an election, or it just seems like there's a lot of moving parts to it. But you can find reasonable accommodations. I think reasonable. For example, in the Jaco market, off season, it's not unheard of to find something on the beach, 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $1,800 for a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus utilities.
Yeah. Right. Where normally that might swell up to in the heat of the market, maybe $4,500 to give you the idea of the swing. But yeah, that's really a great option for someone that maybe is older, that just wants to do some extended stays. There's definitely lots of options.
Fantastic. Another question here from Shannon Brittany. I'm interested in owning a beach inn. Do you have knowledge of limitations, regulations, financing options, which financing we've addressed, for that sort of real estate investment in Costa Rica? Beach inn, limitations and regulations.
I mean, I don't know exactly by regulations what you might mean. I mean, it's typical like anywhere else. I mean, you're going to have, depending on maybe build outs and things like that. I
guess if you're building or if it's already established, if it's established, most of the regulations would be addressed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Construction inside of there.
Sure.
But if you're going to build, that would be a different.
Or add on or things like that. Yeah, you've got to look out for that. A lot of our properties, if it's a hotel, it might be on a concession property. So that's something that might have some limitations that you need to look into. From ownership to operation to expansion, all those type of things. And then as far as financing goes, same thing that we talked about. I think it's going to be very hard to make numbers work, right? If you're looking to finance a hotel or thing of that nature, just because the rates are going to be so high.
Especially in an environment now with the unknown, the occupancy rates and whatnot. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see here. So we got 2 questions from Guanacaste, which I'm going to assume are not your major wheelhouse, but I'm sure you've got some experience in there. One of them is standard price for a 3-bedroom in Guanacaste. And the other one is just moved to Guanacaste and hoping to get a hotel development space down there. Do you know any development opportunities in the Guanacaste area, as well as kind of rates for pricing?
Development's not off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure there's opportunities out there. I mean, that's kind of depends on, what kind of development.
The Flamingo Marina is a big one. That's what is attracting a lot of people now. It's integrated area.
Yep.
Flamingo itself is beautiful. I think Richard has been up there quite a bit. He's done a lot of the research. So after this video, we'll share a lot of new information, upcoming opportunities, and things like that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of money being poured into Guanacaste, especially now. But traditionally, that's always a solid area. A 3-bedroom property out there. Again, it's going to just completely range. It is typically a little bit more expensive than our area in the Central Pacific. But I would say you're going to probably be in that range still of that 200 and up. I think under 200 is going to be pretty limited.
It's also proximity to the beach and things like that. That's a big factor.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let me check out some of these other questions here. And here, just for my own general knowledge, here in Jaco, I see a lot of movement going on. The people that are buying now, are you seeing it as people that are wanting to relocate here, or is it just a way to invest and another, way to preserve their asset or their value? Like, are these people moving, or are they just investors?
We're getting all over the board. We are definitely getting people that are looking to maybe move funds, diversify funds, so that investment part of it, take advantage of some of these buying opportunities where you've got some low prices. But I would say that for the most part, what all of them have in common is that it's definitely more end users. It's definitely people that have the mindset and the plan that they are going to use this property 2 months out of the year, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, more so than in the past.
Okay.
Right? In the past, in the Jaco market, it's people that are busier. I can get away for 2 to 4 weeks out of the year, rent it out while I'm not. Now it's, I don't even know if I'm going to rent. I'm probably going to use it 3 months out of the year.
I know
And
in
the rest
areas
of the
like
time,
Los
it's my
Sueños, we're seeing a
personal
lot of
property.
inventory come off the rental market. You know, people
Absolutely.
that are purchasing and
Absolutely.
they want to use it, but they don't want to do the rental. And so it's from a rental side of it, it's kind of interesting because you're seeing some contraction there.
Absolutely. And you're seeing some people where maybe they were owners and they, you know, during the heat of all of this or the peak of this, that maybe they weren't renting for 2 or 3 months. And they said, oh, you know what? We really can do without rentals. We did it last year and really wasn't that bad. We still had a few rentals here and there, but it's kind of nicer that way, right? And actually, let's take it off the market and let's not even rent it. So even existing owners are now starting to switch, or maybe they're starting to say, you know what, I'm going to use it a little bit more, so take it off the market. So we're definitely seeing the rental market desaturate a little bit.
Yeah, and the carrying cost of real estate in Costa Rica, in my opinion, is cheaper than in the States.
Oh,
Property taxes here are almost a joke. What we pay in a year, most people are paying a month.
Yep.
Insurance is really up to you because it's a cash market. You don't have to have homeowners insurance if you don't want, so people can save dollars there. And then also just HOAs, depending on the community you're at, they're not as high as some places in the States. So that, I think part of it too is you're just seeing people, the carrying cost is more affordable.
Especially on a cash deal, right?
Yeah.
Someone that can afford $300,000 cash can probably afford $10,000 a year to hold it.
Exactly.
Right. And not bat an eye. Maybe they don't want to, right? Maybe they like, you know what? Yeah, I can afford it, but maybe they want to offset the cost. But again, you know, $10,000, let's say, it's not too hard to offset that. They find a few friends in their social circle.
Exactly.
Hey, come down, you know, for a couple of weeks, give me a couple grand, call it good, and it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
So we're starting to see more of that kind of mindset where people are just doing that versus calling up an agency and having them listed rental with them.
Fantastic. Another question that just came in. I'm in new home construction for 22 years in the HVAC business and know some real estate and on how homes are built. What would I have to do to get into real estate down there if we move there?
As far as like a builder, I'm assuming?
Believe
I'd
so.
probably get into building. I mean, you probably just need to roll up your sleeves and go to work. I mean, it's a different country. You're going to have to find people that are going to help you build, right? You're going to have to figure out the permit process. I don't think that's probably the play. I always tell people, look, come down here and use this to relax, right? So too many people had some other clients just the last week. They're telling me, oh, we're thinking about getting a bar. Right. And what about this? What about getting a place right on the beach, a nice bar?
Yes, employees are fun.
And they're retired, right? They're retired. They're just thinking, just something for fun. I'm like, for fun? You want to own a business for fun in another country that you don't know the language, that you don't know how it works? Like, no, just hang out at the bar every day, right? You don't need to own it. You don't need to operate it and hire employees. So I think too many Americans get caught up into they turn around, I'm bored, I need to make money, I need something to do. There's other things that you can do and keep Costa Rica your happy place where you're enjoying and relaxing, and make money where you traditionally make money or where you know how to make money.
Exactly. Well, as a person who's an entrepreneur and I've tried doing businesses here, it's the best way to enjoy Costa Rica is to enjoy it on that retirement level or for what Costa Rica is. Renting, that's different. That's kind of like a side job, but definitely the business, people do make money here, but to navigate those rules and regulations, even for somebody that speaks Spanish, married to it is a beast.
Yeah, yeah, and have employees here.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, to have employees here, it's just a different animal. That is not something that most people are going to be cut out to handle. Right.
Yeah.
So now it is an option. I mean, yeah, there are some people where that's a fit for, and happy to talk to them a little bit more into it. But for the most part, I'd probably say just don't. It's just unless you really are looking to move here and relocate here and make a living here. Okay, but if you don't need to, there's really no sense.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Another good question is, and this is a really good one, is it reasonable to look for houses and properties on site? Feels like the offers on websites and that you see everywhere are for rich foreigners.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess all perception, right? I mean, I don't know what sites they might be looking at. I think one myth that a lot of people that is out there.
The gringo price.
The gringo price. Oh, I'm not meeting with an American realtor. He's just going to sell me the rich stuff and just going to sell me the expensive properties, right? No, it's all the same. And if anything, the properties by the locals, they're the ones that are fishing.
Correct.
Right? Because I always tell people, these people that want a deal, they think they can get a better deal for sale by owner. Well, this is Costa Rica, right? You put a for sale by owner on your property, who's going to see it?
Exactly.
Right? Americans aren't driving through this neighborhood and seeing the sign, calling you up, oh, I'm going to get a better deal.
No, absolutely.
Right? So the people that need to sell, the ones that really are going to maybe drop their pants per se and get a great value or give a great value are going to call people like me, where I've got the database and I can say, oh, you need it gone? I've got the database, sure. And they know that.
Yeah, and there's no real MLS here or anything like that. So you have to have the connections to really move the property.
For sure.
But yeah, and also it goes back to, in my opinion, the fact that it is a cash market. The gringo price isn't so much that it's higher, it's that they're a likely real buyer. I have tried selling a piece of property in Arenal, the whole buy owner thing. And I literally got offered cars, trucks, other dirt, firstborn, 3 chickens, a goat, and a wife, just to trade that property.
Yeah.
Because I was going to
and you didn't
get
take
the Tico price.
You didn't take any of those deals? I mean, maybe a goat and wife might have done it, but
but the other side of that, to that question too, is it's difficult to drive around and see. The sales side of things is different, and it goes back to some of the best advice is you want to work with a reputable realtor. They're going to take you through the due diligence of the property and make sure that there's no liens or anything against it, and then the whole transaction of the attorney as well. So even if you happen to find a good pocket deal that's direct from an owner, you're still going to have to navigate this, and like a mistake there can lead to bigger expenses.
For sure. And the education of the market, right?
Absolutely.
The realtors, because you just cannot get the info online by yourself. You're going to have to get help from someone.
Yeah.
Because if you try and figure out pricing and values online, you will not be able to figure it out because that information's not there. So you really need the help of someone to do that. But we do get that all the time where people want to do it on their own. They want to feel like they're scoring the best deal and I found it on my own. And those people that do it are the people that I'm usually laughing at saying, oh, yeah,
well, I rely on you for those pocket deals. Somebody that's in the business, that's the way to do it. Is it goes back to finding a realtor that you trust, and you have those pocket deals, and you have a group of people that you reach out to, and that's where it creates the value. So I don't believe there's, maybe in a hotel room there's a gringo price and a Tico price, but in the world of real estate, I haven't really seen too much of that.
No, and by all means, if you want to look and you want to try and find that property on your own, go for it. Work with your realtor in doing that, though, right? Send them the links. I had someone call me, looking at a property on Craigslist, right?
I'd drive you nuts.
Called me up, right? It was a property in R&L, and I was coaching him through it and explaining him, and that's what you need. You need some sort of guidance. Like, okay, what do you think of this property? You need some fact checking. So you're going to need some help one way or another.
Yep, absolutely. Another good one from Jose. Why buying in Costa Rica rather than any other Central American country?
Great question. Well, I mean, we have some bias, at least I do, right? I think a big part of it is there's just that stability here with Costa Rica, and where that comes into play is with those recorded titles, right? The registry here is been a stable registry. We don't have a regime or politics that have changed versus, say, for example, in Nicaragua, where under this political system, it was done this way and it was owned by this person, and then they changed the system and now it's this way. So you do have some of those issues with some of the other countries. I just think Costa Rica is obviously it's beautiful, right, as far as the landscape, and it's just a nice mix of stability, beauty, infrastructure, and I think the biggest kicker when it comes to Costa Rica are the people. Just the people are friendly. People are great.
It's a foreigner friendly country.
For sure.
And they, because of tourism being such a big factor in the economy, you see that humbleness or that inviting to the foreigner mentality through everything. Whether you live here or whether you're coming to visit, that's another big appeal. That's why we call it home for myself.
Yeah, and they're just that pura vida, right? Just they're just nice. Everyone's nice.
I got a nice neighbor in my backyard trimming palm trees.
Yeah, but people are just, it's that casual, go with the flow. Sometimes it can drive you crazy, but as far as day to day, it's just great.
Fantastic. Well, I got two good questions here from Scott Dunlap. What's a ballpark price per square foot or square meter for building something simple? Maybe cinder block build, nothing over the top. And then how is homeowner insurance there?
Great question. So new building, you're looking at for U.S. style construction, concrete, rebar, recessed lighting, decent, granite counters, things like that. Something like that. You're going to be at about 110 a square foot, give or take.
Okay.
So that's a good price point to kind of figure. And then homeowner insurance isn't too bad. I want to say it's about about $125 or $150 for every $100,000 insured. Yeah, something like that.
That sounds about right here. I pay about $275.
There you go. Yeah, probably about. Yep.
Perfect. Another good question here. Oh, this one's for the realtors. What percentage does the realtor take from the cash offer or from the seller or buyer? What are realtor commissions?
Depends how greedy the realtor is, right? Realtors here, it's standard, right? It's much like in the U.S. Real estate commissions here typically paid by the seller. They're typically 5 to 6%. And just like in the States, they're co-broked. One of the mistakes that I think a lot of people make is that they don't understand that a realtor here can sell everything. So, for example, when I'm working on listings, I promote everyone's listings, right? And I just co-broke, much like in the U.S. But I think a lot of times people will message me and they'll say, "Hey, I want to see your listings, or what listings do you have?" It's like, it's not my listings. I'm showing you everything, right? But a lot of times people think that they need to go to 5 different realtors because they all have these direct listings. No, one realtor can help you with all of them.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, I think that's all the questions we've got on here now, and we've been going for roughly 40 minutes.
Yeah,
and
power didn't go out. No hiccups.
No, it seems like some pre-pruning going on.
Yeah, it seems like it worked. Hopefully people got some questions answered, and
and any of you, any other questions that you guys have, you can post it in the comments of these feeds, and then either David or I'll get back. Also, we're going to start doing kind of a monthly newsletter, deals and what have you, along with any questions that you have. I can direct them to David as well as any other realtors that we have on in certain key areas.
Yeah.
But great information.
Yeah, it's a good time. I mean, there's still good opportunities throughout the country. It is busy, so I would encourage people not to sleep on it. But definitely now's the time to start looking into it if they're seriously interested.
Yeah, and I want to wrap this up. You did an interview with Richard the other day, and you said something as a salesperson that rings in my mind when people always ask, what kind of returns can I get on a property or the appreciation? Because in the end, you don't want to buy an asset to lose money.
Mm-hmm.
But you had made a comment about beyond the appreciation, beyond the rental, the value of the property being that you have something to look forward and you have the emotional, forgot the words that you like, emotional appreciation. Like, Costa Rica is a great place to park some money, but I can't remember what it was, but there was something you had said about.
Yeah, it's just, this is a lifestyle play, right?
Exactly.
And having a nicer car, right? Because you're going to enjoy it. If you want to buy a Porsche and, you get your money back when you sell it or whatever if you buy it, right? But you're enjoying the car. You're enjoying a boat. You're going to enjoy the property in Costa Rica. And especially in a time, right? Speaking with Americans, where people are miserable, right? They're on pills for depression or their anxiety, or they're miserable with their diet, or they just need a recharge, or they need so many different things in their lives. And Costa Rica is a place where they're excited to come to. And by buying a property that's just going to make their lives better because they're excited to use it. And they're going to make more of an effort to come down here and enjoy their life. Then again, like if you can afford it, why wouldn't you? And it's the same analogy of anything else.
Absolutely.
I think with COVID, that really triggered a lot of people where it's like, you know what? I'm enjoying my life more. I'm going to figure out a way to not stress so much, not worry about work, and enjoy my life more. Screw this waiting till the finish line, right? Like, do it today. You're really going to wait because the biggest thing that we see, and I've learned this mistake, you do everything right. You married right. You saved your money. You did everything perfect. You're 65. You're ready to move the world, to retire to Costa Rica, whatever, right? And, the one thing you didn't see coming, you got to take care of your mom or your dad, who's maybe getting older and they're kind of struggling. I can't go to Europe. I can't go to Costa Rica now because, I got to take care of, or your in-laws, right? Or whatever. Happens all the time.
So the mental return and the ability to use your property and your asset, it gives you something to look forward to. I know that's what I enjoy.
Enjoy your life.
Yeah.
These people make the excuse, I can only come down for 5 days. Well, it's better than zero.
Absolutely.
Get down
it's a vacation.
Here. Enjoy your life.
For you.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate it, David. And thank you for all that tuned in. And we'll send out some emails and some information and keep the questions coming.